Celtics fans, it's finally happened. Danny Ainge is stepping down as the general manager and president of the Boston Celtics organization. And in addition to this, Coach Stevens is going to be promoted to run the basketball operations, which means that he's no longer going to be our coach. So, this is definitely an interesting situation. It's not very common for coaches to step up as the general or as a front office executive for a team and still not be the coach. You look at football. When Bill O'Brien was the head coach of the Texans. He was not only the head coach but the GM. Same thing with Bill Belichick. He's the general manager and the head coach of the New England Patriots. So it's definitely not all that common. But I do get why he did it personally. Again, like I said, the Celtics are going to start searching for a new coach immediately. And I'll get this, Mario. Ainge has been contemplating leaving the job for several months now, which is pretty interesting. Um, he first became the GM of the Celtics in 2008 when they won the title. That was the last time they won the title. And is the third longest tenured led executive of any NBA franchise, and he only trails behind Pat Riley with the Miami Heat in 1995 and Greg Popovich with the Spurs in '96. Um, Let me start off with this first, Mario. But before I do, this article was written by Tim Bontemps, who was from ESPN. So let me go first, okay? Do you want me to be honest with you, Mario? This I think this needed to happen. I'm gonna be honest with you. This needed to happen, and it's nothing against Danny Ainge. I'm very grateful for what he's done for the Boston Celtics organization. I do wish him the best of luck for whatever he decides to do moving forward. But I really do think there needed to be a new transition of power for the Boston Celtics and a lot of people think that statement's done for me. But hear me out, okay? He's been here since 2008, right? He won the title, obviously, in this first. I'll give him that. He went back to it, he lost, but you haven't been back ever since. And you've been building great teams, and I give him credit for that. He's done a really good job in the draft. He's gotten a lot of great players over the past few years. But here's the problem: you haven't been able to get over that slump. And not a lot of that's his fault. This year we were absolutely riddled by injuries. That's not his fault, obviously. But I really do think there needed to be a new face for the Boston Celtics. I really do. Obviously his over the past few years, his tactics with trading and drafting, they have been good for the Boston Celtics, but not good enough. It's been proven a bit ineffective, and at the end of the day, that reflects on the general manager, and I get why he stepped down. As for Brad Stevens, it's going to be hard to replace Brad Stevens. I'll be honest, he is a good coach as well, but again, he hasn't been able to help us to get over that hump. But he is a good coach. I'll give him that. And I'm very interested to see what he does in the basketball operations area. But I don't know what kind of experience he has in the front office role. I'm not so sure if he's even been a front office executive before, to my current knowledge. But if he hasn't, then I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. But at least Brad Stevens is going to be staying with the Boston Celtics. He's very familiar with this young team. He's very familiar with how it's run. So I do wish him the best of luck. Now, same thing with Danny Ainge. I do wish him the best of luck, whatever he decides to do moving forward. But yeah, Mario. I mean, I really do think changes need to happen with the Boston Celtics, and I think Danny Ainge stepping down. I really do think that's something that needed to happen. A lot of people think I'm crazy for that, but his trading, his drafting, while they have been good, it hasn't been able to get us to that next level. So I get it, But with that being said, best of luck to Danny Ainge. Best of luck to Brad Stevens as well. I'm curious to see what's going to happen for the Boston Celtics. As for coaches, they have to start looking for one. So I do wish them the best of luck in trying to find a new coach. And I honestly don't even know what's going to happen to the Celtics moving forward, Mar. I think the future it looks. I don't know. How do I explain the Celtics future right now? It looks weird because I don't know whether this team is still going to be good. I hope it is for their sakes. They're the Boston Celtics, but most likely, they need the coach that'll be like Stevens, but even better. You know what I mean? I think that's what they need to find, but that's going to be hard to do because again, Brad Stevens was a pretty good coach. So I do wish the Celtics the best of luck in finding a coach. Again, best of luck to Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge, and we'll just see what happens with the Celtics, Mario.
Right. Well, first I just want to say, best of luck to Danny Ainge and whatever his future might hold, and best of luck to Brad Stevens in the new role in the front office for the Boston Celtics. I'll start with the point you made about coaches turning executives. You don't see it a lot, but sometimes it does happen. Notably, the two that you just mentioned, Pat Riley and Greg Popovich. Even though Greg
Yeah,
Popovich
yeah.
is still a coach, he is also part of that executive office as well. And Pat Riley is the same thing. Again, Pat Riley, a very, very great coach, and then he ended up going to the executive office and making moves there. But
Right, but the difference between them is that they stayed the coach. Brad Stevens isn't staying as
well,
the coach.
not necessarily Pat Riley.
Yeah, yeah,
Pat Riley ended up going to the executive role during that like Miami Heat era.
yeah. Right.
Spoelstra took over as the coach. But look, Nate, I'm kind of again. I have a lot of questions right now. Okay, best of luck to Brad Stevens. Don't get me wrong, best of luck to him. But I have a lot of questions because here's the thing: Danny Ainge, offseason wise, draft wise, he was exceptional. Like I
Yeah,
never understood. I always looked at the draft, and I'm saying to myself, the Boston Celtics, they literally made it to the semifinals. How did they have like a top 10 pick? I never understood it. Every single year, the Boston Celtics were doing that. And when they didn't have a top 10 pick, Nate, they were getting 2 picks in the first round. Danny Ainge was exceptional with those types of things. He knew how to hit the draft. And not only that, the Celtics were successful before they grabbed Tatum. They somehow got the number 3 pick to get Tatum. He was exceptional with the draft. And as far as trading, he knew what he was doing every single time. You look at when he took Isaiah Thomas, and we looked at how good Isaiah Thomas was for the Celtics. Then all of a sudden, breaking news: Isaiah Thomas has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kyrie Irving. Obviously, I know how Celtics fans feel about Kyrie Irving, but regardless, you guys definitely won that trade because right after Isaiah Thomas left, he was not the same player. So he knew what he was doing there. And on top of that, Nate, he knew what Jaylen Brown was going to be as a player. He knew how good he was going to be as a player, and he stayed patient with him. Even though in his second year, like a Luca or like a Trey Young, I don't think Trey Young, yeah, like a Luca or like a Trey Young or like a Donovan Mitchell, even though he wasn't going to be an All Star, he stayed patient with Jaylen Brown, and he trusted his coaches in developing him. And Jaylen Brown ended up turning it into an All Star. And last but not least, Nate, he took a chance on a coach from Butler. And look how that turned out for the Boston Celtics. Now I know you guys are gonna say, "Well, Brad Stevens has not won us a championship." Regardless, though, he's taken you to some pretty big heights. Okay, let's not forget about that year when Kyrie Irving got hurt and they somehow still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, now the questions here I have is, can Brad Stevens do the same thing? And you got big shoes to fill right there. Big shoes to fill as a Celtics front office man. You have big shoes to fill. It's going to be tough, Nate. It's going to be really, really tough. Again, I'm not sure if he can do the same things that Danny Ainge was doing for the Boston Celtics. Now, did this move have to come? Yes. Why? Because the Celtics, again, they just haven't got over that hump, and you're absolutely right. But I just don't know if Brad Stevens is going to be the one to do it.
yeah. I'm questioning it myself because I'm not even sure if he has front office experience at all.
Now, again, could I be wrong? Yes. Could Brad Stevens do a great job? Absolutely, he could do a great job. It seems like no matter what role he's ever got into, he seemed to fit very well in it. When he became the coach for Butler, he did a very good job there. When he became the coach for the Boston Celtics, he took that role and he never looked back. So it is possible. However, when we're talking about Danny Ainge, there was just some stuff that I just don't understand how he managed to pull off. I don't. I never understood how this team was so close to get into the NBA Finals, and he somehow picked up Jason Tatum with a third pick. I never understood how he was able to turn Isaiah Thomas, how he was able to trust Isaiah Thomas that much to turn him into an All Star. I never understood how he won that trade with Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas. I don't like. Obviously, Kyrie's a great player, but I never understood it. I never understood how Danny Ainge was able to do the things that he did. And regardless of like how Celtics fans might feel about him now, he's done a lot for that Celtics organization. And I think a lot of Celtics fans should be thanking Danny Ainge for what he did throughout the years. Because again, he is also known for assembling that big three that ended up winning the NBA championship as well. So we got to give him a lot of credit, Nate, because Danny Ainge has done a great job. he's done a great job throughout his career as a Celtics executive. But obviously,
Absolutely.
all great things must come to an end, and this is the end for Danny Ainge as an executive for the Boston Celtics. With that being said, I wish him the best of luck. I wish Brad Stevens the best of luck. Again, you got some pretty big shoes to fill, but Brad Stevens has always been comfortable with whatever role he has taken. As for finding a new coach, it's going to be tough because now you got to fill the shoes that Brad Stevens left behind. And Brad Stevens had to do the same thing when Doc Rivers left. So I hope that Brad Stevens makes the right choice in finding a new head coach. I really do. I really don't know which ones he would point to be honest. I really can't think of any
Yeah, I can't think of any coaches myself.
off the top of my head. I don't know if he might go to a college coach like Danny Ainge did with him. I'm not quite sure. But whatever it might be, I wish Brad Stevens the best of luck in whatever choices he makes. I wish the Boston Celtics the best of luck in this new position change. And with that being said, again, best of luck to the Boston Celtics. It's going to be a pretty interesting first off season for Brad Stevens. I know that for a fact.
And thank you, Danny Ainge, for everything you've done for us.